started, if you have a yoga block that you could use, we'll be using that for just like a moment in our practice, but one yoga block if available, and we'll want it at the front of our yoga mat. So if you haven't grabbed that, go ahead and take a second to grab that. And then for our practice, we are moving in the direction of wheel pose, urdvha danurasana. I had a request for this, and it's perfect because back bends and heart openers are shapes that I typically have a tendency to avoid. They've always felt the most challenging in my body. They've always felt the most uncomfortable, vulnerable. Like, it's the one area where, like, within my own body, I'm like, I feel this sense of uncertainty come up. And so it was great when someone was like, I want to learn wheel pose. I'm like, okay. And it's funny because it's a shape that I've always been able to do, but bringing myself to, yes, I will talk through it step by step. Bringing myself to this place of like feeling confident in teaching it has taken me, I don't know, almost 9 years, I guess. But I found that for at least my body, a body that backbending is not like this organic place I naturally lean into, that a couple of key things help me feel more prepared and more open and ready for wheel pose. And those are opening not just through like the spine, but also down into the fronts of our hips and through the quads. That's really important. Engagement through the front and the back body, right? The core is supporting us so that we feel safe to open up. The strength along our spine is also supporting so that when we open up, we aren't dumping into our lumbar or low back. And then finding just that movement in both directions. I think oftentimes when we are working towards back bends, we can sometimes like overemphasize the one direction of our spinal movement. And so we'll hopefully create a pretty balanced practice so we're not just like dumping into our back body or not just back bending over and over again, but making sure like the spine and our center feels super supported. So when we go to that wheel pose, you feel good. You're not nervous. I'm like, oh, am I gonna hurt my low back? Your shoulder opening is also a piece that for I think a lot of people is actually the biggest barrier to wheel pose. Like if we have sticky shoulders, this range of motion is going to be really challenging. So we'll do a little bit of stuff to help open in that direction as well. Anyhow, we can talk about it all day. But let's dive in so that we have time to get to wheel. We're gonna start in Shavasana. Of course, if you want to start in a seated meditation or some other shape, feel free to start where it feels good for you. And then take a moment just to settle into your space. Allowing your eyes to close as you transition into stillness. And as you find that sweet spot to land into, when your body feels held and supported, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, really fill your lungs all the way up. And then open mouth, exhale, let that breath go. And shifting into your mindful ujjayi breath. Slow, strong, expansive inhale through your nose. And through your nose, a slow, steady, and complete exhale out. And as you continue with your mindful ujjayi breath, take a moment just to notice how your physical body is feeling today. Taking note of any areas that maybe need a little extra attention or care. And as you take this scan through your body, taking an extra moment or so to really notice how the space of your heart feels, the space across your chest, and the length of your spine. And as you continue to breathe deep, also looking a little bit deeper into the layer of heart and mind, your energetic and emotional body. And just noticing maybe what came up when we were talking about our back bending or urdvha danurasana, your wheel pose. Just being curious about your relationship to this category of shapes. Maybe you're someone who loves back bending, it comes really naturally in your anatomy. Or maybe like me, you're someone who has a tendency to kind of avoid this area. Maybe back bending has always felt a little bit vulnerable, a less familiar space for your anatomy. But whatever has come up, whatever thoughts or feelings have started to rise to the surface, we can do our best to set those all aside and take this practice step by step, moment by moment, opening ourselves to the possibility that, with the proper intention and preparation, this category of shapes can feel really safe and really freeing. Creating a sense of liberation in our bodies, counterbalancing the posture that we move through our days in when we're not being mindful or intentional in our bodies. Now, as you're ready, go ahead and bring maybe one or both of your hands to your heart space. Asking yourself if there's something specific, something in particular that you'd like to open your heart up to this morning. Something you'd like to make space for in your heart through your practice. And as you bring that intention forward, we'll just take one more round of cleansing breath together. As you're ready, a deep, deep breath in. And then an open mouth exhale, let it go. As you shift back into your ujjayi breath, go ahead and start to find your way into a full body stretch. So reaching your hands up and overhead, really lengthen from your fingers to your toes. As you breathe into that full body stretch, allow your low back to maybe float away from the earth a little bit. Slight arch through your spine. Your exhale, start to bring both of your knees to your chest. So you draw your thighs to your heart space, take a little rock from side to side. Just noticing again how the back of your body feels, how the length of your spine feels in this moment. Take a nice big breath in. And then on your exhale, let both your knees fall to the left into a gentle twist. As your knees tip to the left, release your right shoulder back towards the earth, thinking about an energetic widening across your collarbones. Just take one deep inhale along the length of your spine and your right side body. And one slow exhale out. And from here, we're going to keep our knees to the left side of our yoga mat, and we're going to roll into our fetal pose. So as you roll onto your left side body, rest your head into your left bicep. And then if you want to go on from here, you can always stay in fetal pose, just resting on your left side. Or your right hand's going to reach down to catch your right foot to find your modified bow shape. So this is kind of like your dancer's pose, but resting on your side body. As your right hand connects to your right foot, find a little bit of core energy. So pull your navel, your belly button, up towards the back of your heart. And think about lengthening your tailbone towards the front of your yoga mat. And a little bit of engagement through your right glute. And then once you have that foundation of support at your center, then move your entire right thigh bone back in space. So continue to send your tailbone forward so your low back stays really clear and spacious. And then think about your upper right thigh bone moving into the back of your pelvis. Then your entire right thigh bone sliding towards the wall behind you. Let your collarbone get a little bit wider here. Take one more breath in. Then on your exhale, gently release your right foot from your fetal pose. Roll to your back body. Bring both your knees to your chest. Maybe curl your nose or your forehead to your knees. One big breath in. As you exhale, head and shoulders drop back. Let your knees tip to the right. Gentle twist, second side. Settle into your twist. Open through your heart, heavy through your shoulders. Take a big breath in. And a slow exhale out. And just like before, we're going to find our fetal pose. So rolling onto your right side. Your left hand will reach down to catch your left foot. Pull your navel up and in. And that slight tuck of your tailbone forward to the front of your yoga mat. Keeping your core strong, your spine long, your left glute active. Start to slide your left thigh bone back in space. That engagement of your left glute is going to help keep the stretch moving into the front of your left hip and down your left quad while maintaining space through your low back so you don't dump into our lumbar spine. Feeling that energy through your left seat, that engagement through your belly, the openness down your left thigh for one more breath in. And as you exhale, release, let it go. We're going to roll to the back body, keeping your knees bent. We're just going to find a brief bridge pose. So just a gentle bridge pose to start. With your feet about hips distance, heels grounded, take a nice big breath in. As you exhale, press through your feet, begin to lift through your pelvis. And really rooting through the four corners of your feet. Feel that sense of grounded foundation through your feet. Upward energy through your hips. And again, can we find that really slight lengthening of our tailbone forward? Energy at the base of our glutes so that our low back feels really open. Option to tuck your shoulder blades a little bit closer together behind your heart. Maybe even interlace your hands underneath you to open your chest. One more breath in. And with your exhale, take your time to slowly release all the way back down to the earth. As your hips arrive to your yoga mat, you'll pull your knees to your chest. And we'll make our way up to our tabletop pose. So taking your time to find your way up to all fours. As you bring your shoulders to stack over your wrists and your hips to stack over your knees, make sure your fingers are nice and wide across the earth. And everything starting with a strong foundation. As you inhale, cow pose, relax your belly towards the ground. Big lift of your heart, untuck your tailbone to the sky. And as you exhale, finding cat pose, so we press the earth away, kick down through your shin bones as you round your spine. Tuck your chin, tuck your tail, feel your front ribs draw in. And slowly inhale to your cow pose again. So you lift your heart and tailbone. Think about pulling your rib cage forward. and trying to stretch your sitting bones back. So imagine you're trying to pull distance into that space between your rib cage and your pelvis. And then as you exhale, slowly press and curl to your cat pose again, really rounding through your spine. Good. Last time here, inhale, cow pose. Find a little shift forwards and backwards within your cow pose. And then exhaling to cat pose, same thing, shifting a little bit forwards and backwards. So you find neutral through our spines. You're going to keep your hips stacked directly above your knees. And as you keep your hips stacked high, walk your hands forward for Anahatasana or puppy pose. You can be on your palms or your fingertips. You're going to bring your forehead or your chest down to the earth. Okay. So hips high, heart low. And then as you keep your hips high and dive your sternum to the ground, think about activating through your arms. So energy through the lengths of your arms, stretching your sternum to your yoga mat. And take one more big breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to start to bend at our elbows. Elbows lower to the ground, shift forward to your Sphinx pose. As you bring your belly to the earth, you might have to walk your hands forward a little bit. Make sure your elbows are stacked directly beneath your shoulders. Upper arm bones perpendicular to the earth, you're propped up on your upper arm bones. As you press through your palms, push through your forearms, push through your elbows. So you're pressing down into the ground to lengthen your heart and the crown of your head up high. From there, keep pressing down and then think about dragging your elbows energetically to your hip bones. So you can slide your rib cage forward and through. And as you think about pulling, sliding your rib cage through your biceps, can you feel the energy at the back of your body? The energy along your spine. Feel your navel pull in, send some energy down through your legs to press your toenails into the earth. Take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, engaging your belly again, you're going to start to slowly press through your hands if you'd like to lift your elbows to seal pose. If that feels like too much too soon in your body, stay in your Sphinx. We're going to take one more big inhale here. As we exhale, elbows are going to go wide, belly down, Shavasana. Rest your forehead to the backs of your hands. Just take one inhale and one exhale. Hands are going to slide back by your low ribs, engage through your core, and press to your child's pose. Belly strong as you slowly reach your hips back to your heels. In your child's pose, take prayer hands to the base of your skull, so bend at your elbows. Heels of your hands are going to come to the base of your skull. As you anchor through your elbows, think about dragging your elbows isometrically towards your knees. And start to release and find your way through tabletop into downward facing dog. Tuck through your toes, press your hips up and back. Release the weight of your head as you find a slow paddle of one heel towards the earth, and then the other. And after a slow paddle back and forth, begin to walk into your forward fold, top of your yoga mat. Let your knees soften, relax your belly towards your thighs. Let your head be nice and heavy here. Maybe take a moment to sway your hips a little bit side to side, to move your head. Yes, releasing through your neck. And then with softness in your knees, send your tailbone to the ceiling and inhale to your halfway lift from there. So think tailbone lifts, and then we lengthen crown of the head forward. As you exhale, feel your core light up, draw your shoulders out of your ears, reach the crown of your head a little bit further forward, and a slight shift of forward energy into the fronts of your feet, and then go ahead and release with an exhale out. With softness through your knees, you're going to slowly roll up to standing. So let your head, your tailbone be really, really heavy. Let your core activate as you slowly roll up your spine. Head will be last to lift. At the top, you'll take a shoulder shrug to open up all the way. And then big breath in, circle, sweep your hands to the sky. As you exhale, find your goddess arms, elbows go wide, and then take a breath here. So using your shoulder blades, you use your shoulder blade strength to push your heart forward and up. Belly is strong, and the power from the back of your heart is elevating your sternum. As your shoulder blades press your heart forward and up, can you press your elbows back in space? Take one more big breath in. On exhale, softening your knees, we're going to swan dive forward. Reach your arms nice and wide. Leading with your heart, dive all the way down to your forward fold. Take an inhale to lift up halfway at the bottom. Then exhale to your high plank. Plant your hands and step your feet back. Getting really strong through your belly. Can you lengthen your tailbone just slightly and energetically towards your heels as you draw your front body up and in. Keeping the space between your shoulders and your ears. Inhale to shift forward a little bit. Knees up or down, your front body stays active as you lower to the earth. So think about keeping your quads engaged, your core engaged as you lower all the way down. When you get to the bottom, untuck your toes. Inhaling to a low cobra, begin to lift your chest. Now as you exhale, press your hands and the tops of your feet and your toenails down into the ground. As you push down into the ground, can you reach your elbows actively backwards towards your heels and in towards your spine? Lengthen through the front and the back of your neck. Keep reaching your elbows back and in. Take one more round of breath. On your exhale, release your forehead towards the earth. We're going to walk back into our Sphinx pose. Elbows stacked beneath your shoulders. Pressing down through your elbows, proud through your chest. Take a nice big breath in. And all that engagement along your spine. As you exhale, option to press through your hands, lifting your elbows to seal pose. Your core is strong. Think about reaching your lower glutes towards your hamstrings to keep your low back spacious. Breath in. As you exhale, elbows to the earth. This time tuck your toes, forearm plank. You're going to zip up through your center and lift to your forearm plank. You can always have your knees down in your forearm plank for a little added support. Or from your forearm plank, we'll take one big breath here. Then option to walk your feet into your dolphin pose, getting a deeper opening through your shoulders. In your dolphin pose, as you walk your feet towards your elbows, big push through your elbows to send your heart towards your upper thighs. So knees can be bent. We're focusing mostly on the spine here. As you press your elbows down and forward, big push, heart to upper thighs. Take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, slowly walk back through your forearm plank. Give your forearm plank one big breath in. And then exhale, Sphinx pose. Engaging your core as you untuck your toes. You're going to start to slide your hands back to your cobra. Think about keeping your chest lifted. Slide your hands back to cobra, feeling all the energy along your spine. Keeping your spine strong, upward facing dog. Lengthen your arms, float your thighs. Big breath in. And exhale, downward facing dog. And we'll inhale our right leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale to bend your knee and open your hip. And focusing on this squeeze through your right glute and pulling your right heel towards your left glute to open the front of your right hip. Finding lizard lunge, take a big wide step forward with your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee down to the ground. From here, take a big breath in, pull your chest forward. As we exhale, we're going to twist from your right hand backwards. Now you have a couple options here. It's okay if your right toes want to rotate to the right a little bit, and you can let your right toes, your right knee open to the right. You're either going to flex your left heel and do a little hamstring curl of your left heel to your glute, and pull your left toe to your seat. Or you can assist the stretch by using your right hand on your left foot to pull your foot a little bit closer. So again, you're either using the strength of your left hamstring, like a hamstring curl, or you're using your right hand to create that big stretch all the way up through your left quad. And then continuing the length of our spine, inhale, think sternum towards the front of your yoga mat. Then as you exhale, twist a little bit deeper maybe. And take one more big breath in. And on your exhale, slowly start to send your left leg long. We'll meet in our lifted lizard lunge. Right hand to the inside of your right foot. Tuck your back toes and lift your back knee. Step back into your high plank, slow and strong. Take an inhale to shift forward. Exhale, lower all the way down to the earth. So you untuck your toes. Big breath in. Find your high cobra if that's available. You can always go back to low cobra. In our high cobra, we have a slight micro bend to the elbows. Think about pressing the earth away to lift your rib cage away from your pelvis. Can you draw your shoulder blades back and together as you pull your rib cage through your biceps? Distance between shoulders and ears. Stretch the crown of your head high. Take one more breath in. And as you exhale, using your core, pull your hips towards your heels. Child's pose. Strong belly, long spine. And in your child's pose, find prayer hands at the base of your skull again. And then this time in your prayer hands, you're going to separate your hands and bring your fingertips towards your shoulder blades. So imagine I'm in my child's pose. Instead of bringing hands together, separating my hands, my right fingertips are reaching to my right shoulder blade. Left fingertips are reaching to my left shoulder blade. Anchor through your elbows. Take one more breath. From here, start to release and find your way back into downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Big push away of the earth. We'll inhale left leg to the sky, three-legged dog. As you exhale, bend your knee and open your hip. And focusing on finding the stretch to the front of your left hip. Really reach your left foot way over to the wall on your right side. And squeeze your left glute, pulling your left heel to your right glute. Once you find that big opening through your front left hip, take an inhale. Left foot's going wide, lizard lunge as you exhale. Release your right knee down to the ground. Leading with some length, take an inhale to draw your chest forward. Then exhale to swim your left hand back. As you find your twist, squeeze your right glute and then either flex your right heel in, finding that active hamstring curl, or maybe left hand catches your right foot. Either way, think about engagement through your right glute, lengthening through your front line. So your rib cage is sliding forward away from your hips. For one more cycle of breath. Okay, from here, back into our lifted lizard lunge. Plant your left palm, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Get so strong through your belly as you push through your hands and step to your high plank pose. Take an inhale, shift it forward, knees up or down, exhale to your belly, slow. Keep your front ribs drawing in as you descend. You're gonna untuck your toes. Then we're gonna send our arms back beside us like airplane wings. Forehead to the earth, take a deep inhale to prepare for your locust pose. As you exhale, everything lifts off the ground. Lift your head, your shoulders, your arms, and your legs. As you find that upward lift through everything, can you also squeeze towards the midline of your body? So drawing your pinkies up and in, draw your inner thighs to center. Find length through the nape of your neck and through your throat. Take one more full cycle of breath here. A deep inhale in, and exhale to release. Bend at your knees, take a little windshield wiper from side to side. As you lengthen your legs, set your hands up for your upward facing dog. Your inhale will lift you to your up dog. And think about pulling rib cage and pelvis in opposite directions. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips to the sky. And from here, inhale reaches your right leg up high, three-legged dog. On your exhale, bring your knee towards your nose, pull your thigh into your chest, big push through your arms. Three-legged dog, inhale, reach your right leg high again. As you exhale, step your right foot forward in between your hands. We're gonna lower left knee down to the ground. As we lift to Anjaneyasana, go ahead and grab that yoga block and rise up. So we're gonna start with our hips drawing away from the earth. We're gonna take our block in between our hands. And as we send the block up to the sky, we want to find a little micro bend through our elbows. Draw your front ribs in. Engage your core really strong. Engage your left glute a lot. Once you have that engagement, if you want to melt your hips forward towards the earth, you can. But think about sending your rib cage, the crown of your head, and that block up to the sky at the same time. Take a nice big breath in. Again, there's a micro bend through your elbows. You're squeezing into that block. You're squeezing your left glute and your core. As you exhale, baby tip to your right. Now, even though our back knee is grounded, you should feel really, really active here. There should be a ton of effort moving through your body. You're in this baby lean to the right, baby side bend for one more cycle of breath. As you inhale and bring yourself upright, use an exhale to draw your hips away from the earth and reach your yoga block out in front of you. So keeping your front ribs drawn in, keeping that micro bend through your elbows, squeeze into your block. And then just twist from the waistline up to the right. Squeezing your left glute to find that deep left hip opening stretch as you rotate your block to the right for a breath. We're going to bring it back to center. Keep the engagement through your core in your lower half. Bending your elbows, bring the long edge of the block to the base of your skull. So that long edge is holding your head. Draw your elbows in and up. Tilt your chin to the sky. Use that block to support your head as you open through your throat and your chest. You can either stay with your hips drawing up away from the earth, or if you want to sink your hips forward again, you can. But again, think about lifting your ribcage away from your pelvis. One more breath. As we bring our head upright, we're going to bring our hands to the earth. Lift your back knee and lengthen both of your legs for a hamstring stretch. Take a slow inhale in. And a slow exhale out. Bend into your front knee. Go ahead and step forward to a forward fold. Left foot meets your right. Dive to your thighs. Head is heavy for a moment. Then inhale to your halfway lift, lengthen. As you exhale, soft knees, forward fold. Heavy through your head and tailbone, slowly roll up to stand. Draw your front ribs in, engage your core as you roll all the way up, leading with the back of your body. When you arrive to the top, shoulders shrug to open. Inhale, circle, sweep hands to the sky. At the top, you're going to interlace your fingers except for pointer fingers and thumbs. Think about drawing your back ribs up to the sky. Get heavy through your heels. As you lift your back ribs to the ceiling, knitting your front ribs in, heavy through your heels, take an inhale. As you exhale, lift and then side bend to your left. Tipping to your left side, pressing your hips gently to the right. One full breath. With your next inhale, rise through center. Again, lift. Heels heavy, exhale to the right. You're here for a full cycle of breath. Heavy through your heels, heavy through your tailbone, lifting through your back ribs. Inhale through your center. As you exhale, engage through your glutes and your core as you send your hips forward and find any degree of a back bend. So think more about lengthening up and over than hinging back. Last breath in. As you exhale, you're going to soften your knees and swan dive forward all the way to the earth. Inhale to lift up halfway. As you exhale, just step back to downward facing dog. So all the way to your downward dog. And from your downward facing dog, you're going to inhale your left leg to the sky, three-legged. Exhale, knee to nose. Big engagement through your core. This is your counterbalance. And then three-legged dog, breath in. You're going to step your left foot forward to the top of your yoga mat. Release your right knee to the ground. And then go ahead and squeeze and rise up, grabbing your yoga block along the way. Cool. Once you have your yoga block, we're going to start lifted so we get the engagement through the lower half. Once we have that engagement, then we go forward only to the degree that we can with that engagement. So block's going to go overhead. We're holding it like this. Micro bend through the elbows, squeeze into that block. That's going to help engage your core. Front ribs in, navel to spine. Light up your right glute. Once you have your right glute squeezing, as you begin to melt your hips forward, begin to lift your entire rib cage energetically up and out. So back ribs, side ribs, front ribs are all lifting away from our hips. Give it one more breath in here. Now keeping both your glutes really, really strong, baby tip to the left. You're driving through your left heel so your left glute is engaged. You're squeezing through your right so as strong as you can for one more cycle of breath. We're sweating even though we haven't actually stood up in a lunge yet. Good, bring it back to center. Zipping up through your front line. More of that 90-90 stretch, really pull in through your front ribs. Send your block forward. Again, micro bend through the elbows, squeeze the block. Squeeze both of your glutes as you lengthen your tailbone to the front, that big tuck, and then take your block to the left. Doesn't have to be much, yeah, perfect. You're just trying to squeeze length through the front of your right hip. One breath here. And then bringing it back to center, you're gonna bend at your elbows and use that long side of your yoga block at the base of your skull, at your occiput. Elbows hug in. Maybe start to lift your chin towards the sky. And you can keep your hips more lifted or you can sink your hips forward, whatever feels best. One more breath in and out. Really mindfully, when you bring yourself upright, you're going to set that block aside. Hands will come to the earth. Lift your back knee. Lengthen both of your legs for your hamstring stretch. Give this hamstring stretch another breath or two. And then from here, start to bend your front knee. We're going to step backwards this time to downward facing dog. From your down dog, strong core, you can lower your elbows one at a time or together, but we're going to find one more dolphin pose. So bending at your elbows, elbows to the earth. Big push away with your elbows, so press down and forward. Imagine you could push through your forearms to press your heart all the way to your upper thighs. Squeezing an imaginary block between your biceps for one more breath in and out. Take your time to bring your knees to the earth. Child's pose. Hips to your heels, take a breath. Okay, from your child's pose, begin to stand up on your shins. We're gonna head to a camel pose, and then we'll talk about our wheel pose and lay down. So for our camel pose, we'll stand up on our shins. Knees about hips distance. It's okay if they're a little bit wider. We just don't want to go super wide because then we have a tendency to dump into our low back. Yeah, that's good. You can decide if your toes are untucked or tucked. I find that tucked gives me the advantage of bringing my heels closer to my hands. Untucked, though, helps me kick down with my shin bones. And for, I think, those of us that maybe have like a little bit more of a tendency to lead with fear and back bends, this big power through our legs can be a really good foundation to help keep the core strong. So you decide what you want. We're gonna start with our hands at our hips, thumbs to like sacrum area. As we inhale, our hips are moving just slightly energetically forward. We're gonna think about moving our rib cage forward and up first. As you exhale, just draw your shoulder blades towards each other. We'll do that one more time. So inhale, think rib cage is going forward and up. As you exhale, back body lights up. Once you have that, then continue to slide up and back, maybe tipping your heart to the sky. If you want to, hinging at your knees to catch your feet. Once you've caught your feet, then you can again press your hips forward as you slide your rib cage up and back. If it feels safe to let your head fall back, you can do so. Otherwise, you can keep your gaze up to the sky. Kicking down through your legs and energy through your lower body, through your quads, your glutes, your core center. Trying to activate the base of your booty cheeks to your hamstrings. When you're ready, slowly use your core, bringing one hand at a time up to your heart. And then hinging at your hips, hips to heels. Just take a seat, close your eyes for a breath. Let's take a cleansing breath here. Deep inhale in. Open mouth, exhale out. For our counter stretch, we're gonna do a little rabbit pose. So rabbit is kind of similar to your child's pose. You can go back to child's pose if you want. Otherwise, for your rabbit, your hands are gonna hold the outside of your heels. I'm gonna tuck into your core. As you start to bring the crown of your head forward, crown of the head is to the earth or hovering. You're gonna round your upper back like your cat pose. So rounding through your upper back. Strong belly, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin. Good. One more breath here. then start to release. We'll meet just in a seat when you're ready. So I'm going to talk about wheel pose, at least how I like to get into it. And then we'll go from there. When we're talking about like this setup for our upper body, I'll come a little closer for this. When we're laying on our back, I like to go into my bridge pose. Then I sit up my hands. Many of us are like something like wider, a little bit funny here. And then I'm going to go to the crown of my head really lightly, that same area that we used for like our headstand or just did for our rabbit pose. And once I bring the crown of my head to the earth, that allows me to readjust my hands a little bit because I have more space than having this whole back area grounded. I'll readjust my hands and push up to my wheel. From there, you can readjust even more. But I think sometimes we get like our hands there, we press up, and then we feel kind of stuck, locked in with our hands and our feet. But your core is where you have a lot of control. Like when you engage your belly, you can pick up those limbs. You can trust that you only really need 3 on the ground, you'll be okay. So I'll walk you through how at least I like to approach it. But in our bridge pose setup, just like we would if we were just going to our bridge pose, feet are hips distance, heels are stacked beneath my knees. I'm going to take a breath in and I'll use my exhale to lift my hips. Now I'm thinking less about height and more about length in this particular bridge for this moment. So I'm sliding my pelvis, my thigh bones, my knees forward. I'm not quite yet engaged to like my glutes and my hamstrings so much yet. I'm not like pushing right through this area so much. I'm just thinking about length first. Just like I did in my camel pose, I'm thinking about sliding my rib cage forward and back. Once I have that, I'm going to start to engage my core more and light up my seats. So first length, then engagement to support. Fingertips are pointing to my shoulders. It's okay if my hands are a little bit wide or not exactly where I want them. I'm going to press through my feet. Now I have that engagement through my hips, my glutes, my hamstrings, my core. I'm just going to push and bring crown of the head to the earth really lightly. My arms are still pushing, but light. And then I might have to walk my hands in a little bit more. Once I have my hands where I want them, I'm pressing the earth away. And again, I can use my core to adjust my hands even more if I need to. I'm squeezing an energetic block between my inner thighs. And I'm looking down towards my hands. And when you come out, you're going to tuck your chin and roll it down. Okay. You can kind of like rinse it out, cool you down a little bit. So laying on your back body, just take a moment to send arms and legs nice and long. Closing down your eyes, take a really deep breath and send it into the earth. And then open mouth exhale, release that breath away. And from here, bring both your knees into your chest, just inviting some length into the back of your body, a little sway from side to side. You're going to interlace your hands at the front of your right shin, send your left leg long across the earth, wind removing pose. And then for today, as you pull your right thigh in, actively flex your left heel forward. Pull your navel to your spine and lengthen your tailbone forward. Then think about using your inner left thigh strength to pull your left leg towards the center of your body. So imagine like you're squeezing your inner thighs to the midline. Once you have both inner thighs active, if you want to, you might curl your forehead or your nose towards your right knee. Take a nice big breath in. And exhale, head and shoulders will drop back. We're going to find our supine twist. Right knee tips over to your left. Relaxing your right shoulder back towards the earth. Take 2 cycles of breath. So you start to roll to your back body. You're going to bring both your knees to your heart again. And we're just going to find second side. So after a moment at center, release your right leg long. Hands interlace at the front of your left shin. Using your core, reach your right heel forward. Navel pulls in. Tailbones reaching to the front of your yoga mat. And squeeze through your inner thighs. Once your inner thighs are active, maybe start to bring forehead or nose towards knee. You don't have to touch, you're just finding that deep crunch and curl. Big inhale. And exhale to relax back into your supine twist. Left knee tips to the right. And 2 mindful breaths. Releasing and relaxing any tension from your jaw, to your face, your neck, your shoulders. When you're ready to start to bring it back to center, take your time. Draw both your knees to your heart once again. And then send your legs up to the sky, maybe some softness in your knees. Just pausing here for a breath for a moment. You can choose to stay here with your legs up to the sky. Or if you'd like to move to your plow or your shoulder stand, you can use your triceps on the ground, a little bit of momentum and core energy to lift your hips. For your plow pose, toes go overhead towards the earth behind your yoga mat. If you want to go to your shoulder stand, you can add that in as well. If you just want to focus on the plow pose, really counterbalancing the back bending, the heart opening, you can stay there. Whatever shape you're in, take about 3 cycles of breath. If you want to add an ear pinning pose, knees can bend to frame your face. When you are ready to lower out, go really slow. Use your triceps and your core as brakes. Let your knees bend as you go. Just feel your spine naturally lead. Invitation to go into your fish pose as your legs go long. You'll prop yourself up on your elbows. Fingertips are facing your seat, and as you push the earth away, you'll puff your heart up to the sky. If it feels safe to let your head fall back, that's available, but you can keep your gaze just up to the ceiling as well. Taking a nice big breath in. As you exhale, slowly release it down, just sliding to your back body. Send your hands overhead to a full body stretch as you inhale. And then start to make your way into your Shavasana as you exhale. So whatever shape you want to rest in. Arms and legs heavy and relaxed. Taking a moment to close down your eyes. As you allow the earth to rise up and receive you. Maybe take a big breath in through your nose. And an open mouth exhale, just let it go. Allowing one more minute here just to be in your body. Be noticing how your energy feels after opening through your heart space. After the big shape of exploring your wheel. As you continue with that inquiry into sensation, into the heart space, also maybe noticing the thoughts that are now moving through your mind. As you continue that inquiry, letting your hands find their way to your heart. And just taking this final pause of acknowledgement, appreciation, and gratitude for the practice itself, for our physical bodies and all that they do for us each and every day, for our breath that sustains us, offering us each moment of our human experience. I'll seal it all in with one more breath together. A deep inhale when you're ready. And clearing, cleansing exhale, let it go. Yoga offers us a path to compassion, and may our practices serve as our teachers, always leading us to live with greater authenticity and to love more deeply each and every day. Thank you so much. Namaste.